Hello Wargamers, it's me Callum from Tabletop Banter, and in today's video I am going to show you the Iron Hands. Now obviously I did a showcase of the word bearers, and you'll see some of the stuff here is not quite finished, because this is going to be a what I've done and what's to come video. So the Iron Hands for me are always going to be a somewhat finite project. I'll never paint up as many tacticals, because that's my word bearers thing, and I started the Iron Hands originally because I said no tanks for the word bearers. So there are some tanks I really like the look of, and really wanted to use, but I didn't want to put them in the word bearers, so I basically started a whole nother legion. And I've got a bit of a theme for that as well, and what I'll do is I'll probably go through it as when we get there. But this is the entirety of my collection thus far, and obviously we've got 3 unpainted units over there on the right, and I'll go over those separately. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and look at sections of this layout, and we'll go through a couple of units at a time. So we're going to start here on the left hand side of the table as you were looking at it earlier, and we have my favourite troop choice in the Horus Heresy besides my word bearers tacticals, and that's a 10-man squad of breachers. So this was sort of another reason I wanted the Iron Hands, is because I wanted to take some things that just didn't fit into my word bearers. My word bearers are a quick infantry based, just steaming forwards kind of army, and I wanted the Iron Hands to be a more slow but merciless advance. Obviously slightly slower from the whole mechanical thing going on, and they're less fervorous and they're less zealous, and they're a bit more sort of stubborn. And don't get me wrong, they get angry, but I think they use it in a different way. Now, I wanted to do 10 breachers because I love the shields. So I picked up a Mark III box and 10 of the shields from various bits, things on eBay and so forth. And yeah, super pleased. So in that squad of 10 chappies, you can see here we've got one Volkite here, and there's another over here. And then we've got my favourite sergeant in the army. It's Sergeant Pliskin. He's got Thunderhammer, Cyber Familiar, Artificer Armour, and it basically makes him like a 70-point sergeant or something stupid. But out of nowhere in combat, he's got a 2 up, 4 up, and then a couple of attacks with a Thunderhammer. So you never know, he could pull something cool off. I'll be brutally honest with you guys, he's not yet. And yeah, so this is just sort of my rule of cool. Second compulsory compulsory troop choice, because I really don't want to run too many troops, and I don't want to make Terminators troops or anything like that with this particular army and this build yet, because I actually quite like I like not running a Rite of War, let's put it that way. Don't get me wrong, some of them are super themed, but I don't like doing any of the traditional like Pride of the Legion or Chosen Duty. They're not for me, but you know, that's just my personal feeling towards them. And what you can also see behind it, and we'll go into these as well whilst we're here, are 2 Contemptors. Of course, one here is a Mortis with the twin Carey's Pattern Assault Cannons, that they are magnetised for being able to take them off when he dies. And we've got a regular Contemptor, again magnetised there, but kept the chain fist on. Now, honestly, this guy, I think he's going to get rehoused. I'm really unpleased or displeased with his base, his pose. I like the paintwork, but that's about it. So I'll probably sell him off, because I just don't see myself using a regular Contemptor for this army, and I'll show you why in a minute. And yeah, it just doesn't suit how I want it. It was a good little gap filler, but I don't want it in my finished army. So he's probably going to be biting the dust at some point. So the next 2 units on the list are going to be the 5 Tartarus Pattern Terminators. Now, obviously, all my stuff's in Mark III, so I got I got Burning of Prospero, good English, and as part of that, you get 5 Tartarus Terminators. And I was thinking, like, oh, do I put them with the word bearers? And I just thought, no, it'd be fun to paint. I know they're not, tactically speaking, the best choice for the Iron Hands, because they've got to make leadership tests if they want to run and sweep, which is the reason you take Tartarus. But I actually really like the look of them, so I thought, whatever, I'll paint them up. And I think they paint up nicer than Cataphracti, I'll be quite honest. And I do want 5 more, because I think they look really cool. I honestly just prefer the way they look. I'm I'm half tempted to flog off the Cataphractii that I've got, even though it's the more tactical choice. Oh, shocker! Callum's made a poor tactical decision, because I just really like how they've come out, and I'd like to replicate that as a full squad. So you can see loadout wise, I've gone for 2 Lightning Claws, 2 Chain Fists, and a Thunder Hammer on the Sarge, and as part of that, I've also got a Plasma Blaster. Simple reason is they're a little bit more mobile, a little bit shooty. I actually duplicated the initial loadout, i.e. Chain Fists, Lightning Claws, Thunder Hammers, for both squads that I've done, so for this squad and the Cataphractii, but the Cataphractii had a heavier weapon, because in my mind it suits them better. Now behind them, you can see one of my first Forge World tanks actually, the Sicaran Arcus. I love it. It's a really nice chassis, the Sicaran. The Arcus stood out to me because it was newly released. It ticks a lot of boxes in terms of versatility, don't get me wrong. It's still a tank and it can be popped quite easily. It's only, what, 13, 12, I think. So it's not brilliant, but I just fucking love it. I think it looks cool. And don't get me wrong, when the Arcus stands still, it absolutely pummels what it targets. Now, when I originally played it, I actually took the special character Castamon Orth and put him in there. And I have to say, I've done it once, and I'm never doing it again. Because it's just ridiculous. His buffs are so good for it. It becomes a bit silly. And I just don't want to take that anymore. So Castamon Orth has been scrapped. I've got the model, and I'll show you him in a bit. But he's not getting game time as Castamon Orth anymore. Certainly not in a Sicaran, bloody hell. So yeah, I really love the look of the tank, and it is efficient on its own. It's not inefficient by any means. So because it's got anti-air, it's got anti-mechanicum, it's got anti-auxiliary and militia, and it has anti-everything, all mixed into one gun that you just then change the ammo load. And I put 2 las cannons on. It is magnetized. The las cannons that come off. But just put that back. But I tend to run las cannons because I think they look cooler. So, on to the next lot. So here we have my command section. So these are the 4 characters I've got finished for the Iron Hands. We'll go from left to right just because that's easiest. This is the leader of my entire force. I've written up sort of I don't know, 500-600 words of background story on him. I hope to sort of bulk that out in the future. But that is Praetor Mulak Sork. So he is, his story is very much one of loss. So he went on to, he was part of the drop site massacre at Isstvan 5, saw Manus get killed, became very angry, and he sort of charged ahead of his veteran unit and was just killing everything in sight in this sort of new wave of rage. And he was mullering Emperor's children, and obviously even with a sword, I mean, you wouldn't expect that, but this guy was just so angry, and he used that as a fuel to fight, and he struck through a line of Emperor's children and pretty much like came out the other side. And he looked back and he saw that his veteran squad was being overwhelmed by all, because he left them in his fit of anger, and they all died. So he then felt the grief there of not only did the Primarch die right in front of him, but his actions meant that his whole squad died. And then as the battle became sort of worse and worse, and the Iron Hands were really being overrun, he was sort of ushered into the shadows with the Raven Guard, and he learnt he learnt some of their techniques in stealth. So that's why he's called the Shadow Master in this particular. So it's Shadow Master Mulak Sork, because he strikes from the shadows. So it's post Isstvan 5, and it's sort of like a strike from the shadows kind of dealio from him. So he's equipped with a Paragon Blade, which I've used the Deathwatch thingy Xenophase Blade, and a Volkite Charger, and he's got Tiffy armor, Iron Halo, Cyber Familiar, Digi Lasers, the usual works. But the 3-up invul makes a big difference. So next to him we have the Forge Lord. So that is the Forge World one. I know you can use it as a Forge Father. And if I ever choose to run Ortec Maw, which is not super often anymore. He is my Alltech Maw, but I prefer him as a Forge Lord. So now he's kind of acting as a buff character, and we'll see how he gets on. So it's Power Axe. He's got the servo arm and another Volkite charger. I love Volkite guns, so I'm probably going to get a couple more of those smattered around. And rag grenades, that sort of thing. So he's basically there to buff out a unit, and I just think the model is pretty cool. So next we have the Forge World exclusive Cataphractii character. I tend to run him as a Centurion or a Delegatus. He is more of a tank than he is for output. So he's got a 2-up armor save, obviously, in Cataphractii, but it becomes a 3-up invulnerable because I've given him a Cyber Familiar. So again, he can really take a hit. And he's obviously armed there with the Combi Volkite and the Thunderhammer. And he's Garek Morlock, and I took him to the Tarsis event series as a Centurion. He gained +1 attack. So basically, if my opponent's okay with it, I'll run him as that, but likelihood is I probably won't. But yeah, so I don't know if he'll ever go to a Tarsis event again, bless him, but he might do, and if he does, he'll be a 4-attack Centurion with his Thunderhammer. And I bloody love the model, and I really wanted a Cataphractii character who wasn't the Calth one. And yeah, good choice for me, I think, in terms of buying the right model. And lastly, we have my previous Castor North. So he's got like a bionic eye and a power maul and everything. But like I say, I don't run him anymore because it's a silly rule set when you put it with the tanks that I've got. It's a shame, but I don't like to be that guy. So now he is more run as a bog standard power armor Centurion or Chaplain, because obviously the maul is kind of like a Crozius. But again, Chaplain's very rare do I take him because I'll only attach him to a squad with the same size base. Which I know it sounds silly, but that's kind of how my mind works. So he doesn't get a lot of game time anymore, but he's got Bolt Pistol Power Maul, Refractor Field Cyber Familiar, Tiffy Armor, and Melter Bombs. And that's my little command section. So obviously it's only 4 models, not quite as many as my Word Bearers, but I don't find that I need as many because I don't have the compulsory troop stuff shenanigans. And I won't use a Librarian with the Iron Hands, and I wouldn't use, and I can't use a Diabolist, so there's no point having those models anyway. So that's where I'm at with those. Sat behind the command section are probably my favourite models in the Iron Hands collection, the Gorgon Terminators. Now, there's only 5 here at the moment. The plan is to have 4 more, so I'll probably get 5 more. So I could run them as 2 squads of 5 in things like Centurion, but 4 more, so for a 9-man squad. And you can see their dedicated transport behind them is a Spartan assault tank. Now, the Spartan isn't quite finished. I've got a bit of work to do. I've got some nice transfers on the side that I've had Mike from Chronology Silicis print off for me because he's got some transfer paper and that, and a nice printer. And I'm really looking forward to putting the transfer on. I'm part tempted to actually save that specific transfer for a different vehicle that I'll get in the future. And there are reasons, and I'll go over those reasons later on in the video. But those Gorgons will be joined by characters and put in a Spartan. You'd be hard pushed to call it a proper Spartan Death Star because its Gorgon Terminators are pretty shit. But I love the models. I really love the models. I think they're really pretty. And you know me, I'm a sucker for that. I literally can't buy a model if I don't like the look of it. That's just a rule of mine. And yeah, I guess that's it. And then for the Spartan, most likely the standard sort of cheaper loadout, so not the full flare shield one. So 330 points, I think, for Spartan Armored Ceramite Dozer Blade. I think it's about that, around those kind of points. The flare shields are great, but it puts 45 points that I could have spent on something else in my army. And if I'm using something like Head of the Gorgon, I don't really care about flare shield because I'm coming in from the side. And really, if you position it okay and you get first turn, or even if you position it okay and you get second turn, the Spartan's kind of tough. So you should be able to get it up the board relatively quickly. Even if you do take a hit here and there, might even have extra armor on there if it doesn't already, because I think I like the movement. But yes, that's my sort of second Forge World tank. Picked up second hand off a good friend of mine, and yeah, I think it would be a nice addition to this army. And I like to say, I'm very glad I didn't paint the tanks as for word bearers, and I sort of started a Legion for tanks. And now to the last section of painted stuff. Ignore the grey things back here. Let's do some professional camera work and move them out of the way. What we have, and we'll go from left to right, are 5 Cataphractii Terminators just here. They are identical to the Tartarus pattern in loadout, save the autocannon at the back rather than the Plasma Blaster. Again, I had some kicking around. I thought they look alright. I like them, but I'm not super keen. I prefer the Tartarus aesthetic, and so what I'll probably do is ditch the Cataphractii. So I'll probably sell the Cataphractii and the Contemptor that you saw earlier, because it's just, I don't know. I'm a sucker for things that look nice. What can I say? So, the other compulsory troop choice that you can see right here, they are 10 Tactical Marines. So they have, there's a Nuncio, the back right, I've kind of used a part off of a Rhino for. The Vexilla is currently on a guy's base because I need to figure out a better way of putting it on his backpack because it keeps snapping off. The Sergeant has Tiffy armor and a combi melter and a melter bomb. And then I attach an apothecary normally to the breaches, but I'm actually going to sort out a different apothecary for them because I've come up with a really decent idea. Well, I think so anyway. and so what I want to do is actually put one in together specifically for the breaches. And I'll talk a bit about what's to come purchase-wise and what I've got to do once I've just finished this off. So that apothecary is Artificer armor and power sword and Auspex scanner, so the full 70-point apothecary. But what he provides is pretty funky. Little bubble of interceptor, and more importantly, feel no pain for the unit, which doubles up as a big thing for Iron Hands because their special tactic is your weapons have -1 strength when targeting Legion Astartes models. So it makes them toughness 4.5. It's probably the best way of looking at it. So 8 doesn't double them out anymore, but strength 9 does. So there you go. Last unit, and probably the unit that did the best on the internet in terms of pictures response, because of the OSL pink plasma I do. But we've got 5 plasma guns squad, support squad. Now, I've got 5 literally sat waiting to be built. The guns are there, the bodies are there. I just need to sit down and do it, and that'll round me out at the full 10. I don't know. Basically, I looked at my Iron Hands when I was building them up, and I said, what would look really cool? I did a test run on a different set of models, and I thought, right, a pink plasma effect would really make them stand out. And I'm so pleased with how it's come off. I really need to keep going and do like I say, do that other 5, get the full 10-man squad, and continue that way. So that's it for everything I've got built and painted so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to a big, well, probably adjust the camera a little bit and show you the 3 things that I've got that are ready to be primed and then painted, and then we'll go into what's going to come after those 3 things. Okay, here are the last 3 things on the board. Though obviously these are unprimed and unpainted, but they're built and they're ready to rock and roll. So let's talk about them. What I'm actually going to do this time, I'll go left from right again. So Laser Vindicator Destroyer just needs a tiny bit of green stuff work. I really like the kit. I really like the look of the tank, and like I say, I wanted to pick up some tanks for this army, this Legion, and that was one of the first ones I really thought about. Now I have lightly magnetized the weapon option, so if it suffers a weapon destroyed result, it can come off, and I've left this combi bolter unglued as well, just because I think it's kind of cool. And the idea behind this one was also some ranged fire support. I might well pick up a second one in time. We'll see how we do, but yeah, I haven't really decided on that front. I think I'll get a second one just so I can have a squadron of 2, but we'll see. Next to that, we see a very special Rhino. Now, the reason this is so special, and I'll do a little video on it in a bit, is because it's been 3D printed. So Harry was messing around with his printer, wanted to see what a tank would look like as it came out, and he 3D printed a Rhino, and it's actually pretty decent. So from this distance, it's harder to tell, and obviously this resolution isn't spot on, but you can sort of see it looks like a rhino. And that's what we were saying, Harry and I were saying, you know, from 2-3 feet away, first glance, it's a rhino. I'm not using a Land Raider to proxy as a rhino, it's just a 3D printed rhino. Now, obviously Harry can't actually sell this off because that would be illegal. And it was printed for personal use and just given to me. But in terms of material costs, I'll be honest with you, if you buy the special Forge World deal, where it's 3 rhinos for 100 quid, putting it at about 33 quid a rhino, this will have been less than a tenth of that, much less than a tenth of that. So it was a very kind gift from Harry to reduce the cost of it. And it's mainly going to be a gaming piece. I don't think I'll run it at too many big events or anything without sort of going over, without sending a picture to the EO and saying, is this all right to use? If not, then I'd rework my list, because I don't feel like it's something I would just bring along and expect to be okay. It'd be the kind of thing I would ask the event organizer first if it's okay. I mean, it clearly represents a rhino, but there's still that sort of, okay, it's not recast, it's someone else has designed something similar to a rhino, so similar it's very hard to see from a distance, and then put that up for available online for free. So yeah, it's a toughie. I'm hoping that it would be the kind of thing that would be okay. And to round off the things I have left to do is one Contemptor Cortus. Now it's the Couth Contemptor with 2 fists instead of just 1, and he's obviously having a bit of a run there. And my plan, like I say, I want to ditch the other Contemptor. I don't think there's any salvaging it. I don't like how it's posed. And instead, I want to run 2 Contemptor Cortuses with dual fist, because I think that looks cool as balls. So there you go. Whether or not I give him some graviton guns by the fists, what I might do is like underslung style. I haven't decided because I don't know. Is my honest answer. I'm still, so it's pretty much done, but it needs a bit clean up. Needs some rivets and some paneling, and then it's pretty much set to go. So yeah, I'll just zoom back out again, and we will discuss what I'm going to pick up next. Right, so that's the lot, all laid out and about. From memory, it's hitting at the moment just shy of about 275, something like that. Once I've painted up all the other stuff, I'll be at about 3k. So once there's 3 units, then I'll have about 3k done. And then it's maybe just under that. But then it's just a few things left. So really, what I will be likely doing is, like I say, flogging off this Contemptor and doing another Cortus, selling off the 5 Cataphractii Terminators and buying 5 Tartarus. And then, so on the list to buy, 1 Contemptor Cortus, 5 Tartarus Terminators, 5 Gorgon Terminators, another Rhino, 5 more Plasma Support Marines, a Leviathan, because I want a Leviathan, not that I use it very often, and then lastly, Ferrus Manus. So what's that, like 7 things to buy? And then I'm pretty much done with the Iron Hands. It'll take me to about 4k. I've got a list somewhere written down of 4k that I wanted for the Iron Hands. Oh, that's right. And the last thing I wanted, the last 2 things, I want an Apothecary, and I'm going to give him a boarding shield, and that'll be his representation of a Cyber Familiar. So I can have an Apothecary looking really cool in the boarding unit. And they're going to have a Termite, because I think they look bloody cool. And because they're 12, I'm going to attach the Praetor to them, because I think it looks fucking awesome. So that'll be his boyfriend squad, which seems silly, but they're the same base sizes. And I've got a bit of a thing for keeping units as 1 base size. It just, in my mind, it looks wrong if they're not like that. But anyway, that's just me being silly. So that's the plan. I've got sort of like 8-9 units left to buy. A few of those are 5s, 15. So you're looking at about 21 models, I think, that I've got to buy and build and paint, and then I'm done. And that'll be 4k of Iron Hands. So hopefully I'll put some update videos on how things are going with them in the future. I hope this hasn't been too long. I know that some people actually liked the Word Bearers. The Word Bearer showcase, because I went over things, why I took things, you know, like choices and that, and so forth. Now, paint-wise, on this particular army, I use the patina technique. So it's where you would give it that kind of oil colour, where it's a couple of coloured washes, and then you basically thin coats of non-oil to glaze over the top, or Tamiya smoke or whatever, and it gives it that oily look, and it paints up quick, but I still think it's alright. So I know that this is never going to win a painting award. That's fine, I'm alright with that. I think it looks okay on the tabletop, and it's been really fun to A, do something totally different, and B, pick up those units that aren't word bearer like, and I still get to do it, because that was my one worry about doing full infantry, is I wouldn't get the enjoyment of painting these things. That's why I did a second Legion. That's why I picked Iron Hands, in part. Also quite like the whole getting angry and stubborn and not trusting anyone. I think that's fucking cool, so there's that as well. So anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and drop a comment in the section below. Would you like me to put... Okay, so there's a couple of questions. What are your thoughts on the 3D printed Rhino? That's 1. Should I put Graviton guns on my Contemptor Cortus? That's 2. And what was your favourite unit that I showed today? Let's get a bit more interaction, because I know that a lot of the time I don't really push that. But I'd like to know what your favourite character, unit or vehicle was that was painted, not the unpainted stuff. And that's about it really, so thanks ever so much for watching, guys. I look forward to hearing from you all, every single viewer, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.